Number one Cochran Sports Showdown. The Pens win again, 4-3 in a shootout against Arizona. They keep winning without Sidney Crosby. They're 19-6-4 without their captain. Obviously, they need him back. You know, Jason, you covered this team for a while. And what do you think about Crosby? When will we see him back? Do you think it's going to be Tuesday? Do you think it's going to be a little bit longer? Should you rush him back? We got the All-Star break coming up here. How would you kind of monitor this, and when would you like to see him back in the lineup?
I think this week, Richie, is the most reasonable expectation. From what I know about Sid and from what I know with this situation, I mean, he's a perfectionist, and it works to his benefit most times. And him coming back, he wants to be absolutely perfect before he does it. He wants to feel like he can dominate a game. He's not the kind that just wants to, oh, I just have to get back out there. Usually, well, with everything he does, he wants it to be to the nth degree. So I expect him to get back in there this week. I would certainly not rush him. It's going to be an interesting transition because they're playing so well without him. But you talk about a guy who can slide in there. I mean, obviously, they're not going to healthy scratch him. I certainly don't worry about what's going to happen when they bring Sid back.
And now 18-6-4 without Sid, which just proves the point, Richie, that Mike Sullivan is the better coach than Mike Tomlin in town, doesn't it?
Is he a Hall of Famer?
Don't we have to? Doesn't every conversation have to come back to Mike Tomlin? Yes. I think that's the rule here tonight. No, I mean, it's the same thing as when Dan Bilesma, I believe, won his only Jack Adams Award when Sid and Evgeny Malkin were lost for the season. It's showing right now that they have a superior bench boss in Mike Sullivan, who's doing some of his best work with less. And I just wonder, guys, when does Jim Rutherford get that itch? Even though everything seems perfect and there's going to be additions without making a trade when players get back from injury, I just don't think the old horse trader can help himself. You know he's going to try to put his own touch on this team.
I'm probably of the minority, but I think that, well, I am the minority up here, but that's a different story. The thing about it, I would say, is I would hold Sidney out until after the All-Star. I mean, don't they get like 9 days off or something like that? 9 days, 10 days off? You might as well. You're winning without him. Why not get him, make sure he's maximum, 100% healthy? And the other part of it is after 9 days, you're not worried about disrupting chemistry and all that stuff because it's almost like you're coming back to a new season. So to me, it's working. Let it work. Let him make sure he's 100% healthy.
Pony, if you were the GM, what would you, if you guys were the GM, what would you do right now? Who would you try to target? Where does this team need to improve? I
would like to see them get a little bit better on left wing. I mean, not that they're deficient by any stretch, but I mean, you've got some guys out there. I know I wrote early last week about Brandon Saad and them maybe targeting them or what that would look like. I mean, you got a Tyler Toffoli out there, and it's not necessarily a left-wing option, but Pajot is somebody that intrigues me. I don't know. They've got a couple guys they can go target and try to get left-wing-wise and try to get a little bit better. But the one thing I wouldn't do, Richie, is give up Matt Murray or Justin Schultz. They're too important for me in terms of insurance. If somebody would get hurt, if Chris Letang gets hurt, what happens with Tristan Jarry? I just wouldn't give him up.
I think about Schultz. I really would.
I would too.
I'm with you on the goaltender situation, Jason, but I think they got enough depth here now on the blue line where if they feel like they need to leverage Justin Schultz to get their Jake Gensel replacement, I would absolutely do that. One thing I would avoid the temptation of, Richie, is I would not take a bad contract in Galchenyuk and trade it for somebody else's bad contract and take on more, take on 2 or 3 years of a guy hoping a change of scenery is going to do him so good. If Galchenyuk has to walk at the end of the year and you get nothing for him, so be it. But I'm not trading for 2 or 3 bad years of a player just because.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is, as Jason said, I mean, the chemistry of this team is really good. So you've got to make sure that anybody you bring in doesn't destroy that or doesn't force you to make moves that you don't want to do. That's the biggest thing to me is you don't want to have someone come in. Now we got to move around 2 or 3 lines to accommodate them. I think they got to be careful about who they bring in.
Hey, you talked about destroying chemistry. Could this goalie controversy, Jason, mess around with the chemistry in that locker room right now?
No, I mean, I don't even see it as being a controversy. I give Matt Murray high praise for how he's handled it.
But at some point, don't you think it's going to bother him?
I mean, I think it bothers him now. He probably wants to play, but he's not a jerk. I've been on a lot of outlets and have written it like he's a really good, genuine solid dude. Like, he's not going to make us think of this.
Unless Bob Boley asks him the wrong question, but I guess he's not in that dressing room anymore.
There was a pretty cool underlying respect with Bombuli. But anyway, no, it's just post-game.
But this is hurting his wallet. I mean, he's in line for a big-time contract.
They don't think, like, he's an RFA, too. Like, okay.
He's trapped.
You come back and you can go somewhere else. He's got 2 cups on his resume. He'll be just fine. He wants to play right now, but he's not going to be.
He's not getting that $9 million, though.
No.
All right, now let's go around the horn for this week's Smooth the Move, brought to you by Pittsburgh's largest supplier of the smoothest granite, marble, quartz countertops, and that is Armina Stone. We'll go left to right. Pony, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to be a little bit sarcastic here. Smooth move. Let's not go for 4th and 1 when we're in the red zone, but let's fake a punt right out of the Danny Smith, Mike Tomlin playbook in our own end and give Kansas City basically the game here. What is Bill O'Brien doing? Which to me is, again, sometimes the record doesn't tell the whole story. He goes to the playoffs every year. He wins the AFC South because he has Deshaun Watson. But you tell me in a big game if you want Bill O'Brien as your head coach. I know I don't.
I tell you that everybody was talking about Superman wearing a cape in the NFL, and they're right. The problem is he's not the guy in Baltimore. It's the guy that's in Kansas City, who, for my money, is the best quarterback and best player in the game. I mean, they got down 24-0 today, and Patrick Mahomes just went like this, crack his neck. All right, let's go. 4 touchdowns later, they're winning at halftime. Smooth move. Patrick Mahomes is my guy.
I'll split mine between 2, Jim Rutherford and Brandon Tanev. What Tanev did this past week has been incredible. There was a lot of screaming, moaning, complaining, whatever, over the 6-year deal he got. But, man, what a player he's been. Justified every part of it. All
right, thanks, guys. Armina Stone, Pittsburgh's largest supplier of the smoothest granite, marble, and quartz countertops you can find anywhere. The #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. We'll be right back.